Welcome to the Coach Cameron Soccer Podcast. This is Coach Cameron, and this is episode 500. This is a big deal. It's a big deal to me, so it should be a big deal to you. So today we're going to bring on Jessica McDonald and talk about 500. She scored the game winner for the U.S. women's national team and helped them get their 500th victory. All of this on the Coach Cameron Podcast.
Into the box. She's found McDonald, and McDonald will walk that one back from point-blank range. Done into the box. She found McDonald. What a shot. McDonald again. Goal!
Okay.
What's up, Jessica?
Hello, Dave.
Hey, so this is episode 500 for me. This is a milestone for me. This might be my last episode. I might quit after this. But I made it to 500, but I bring you on because you are not only very significant in my life, but this is a milestone number for you as well because you scored the game winner for the U.S. women's national team to win the 500th victory for the U.S. women's national team. So
Yes.
Let's talk about that. I have the video, which I'll be showing it on this podcast, which you can't see. But I'm going to go through what happened that day. So you're playing who? Portugal?
Yeah.
So describe to my audience, where were you? What happened that day? Describe the whole day leading up to the moment where you scored the game winner.
The whole day.
The whole day.
I can't.
Start
the
from
whole
finish.
day was a blur.
I awoke.
Well, I'm pretty sure I went through my whole game day routine, pancakes before the game. Obviously nervous, but one like crazy thing that we really don't know as players unless we know the starting lineup. I found out I was starting the day before. So I know for sure I probably woke up that morning like nervous as heck. And because I'm like, I've never started for the national team ever. So for this to be, my first camp back with the USA team, and it was a little nerve-wracking. But, I went into the game not really knowing the system either. We're playing a 4-3-3. I'm used to playing a 4-4-2 with a box in the midfield. And so obviously I'm used to playing with another 9 up top, whereas I was the only 9, going into the game against Portugal. And so that was also nerve-wracking because I'm new to the system. I felt like, to be honest, during the game, I felt like I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Even before my goal, I had like some open missed opportunities, like some sitters. And so
Yeah. I know. I have that video too.
Oh, dear.
What you don't know, well, maybe you did, but so we're watching this game in my office, and it's like 11 o'clock our time, I think. And it's like right at the end of the game, because I knew after the first half you're probably not coming the second half the way they were subbing. And you missed that, and I was devastated. Devastated, because you were in tryout mode too, so you had to play a crucial role with being effective for the team so you can make the World Cup team. So this is prior to even making the World Cup team. And you miss, and I was devastated. I'm like, she's done. You can't miss that.
I know.
So, and then how much time was there left in that half when there wasn't much time?
There wasn't, like a few minutes left. It was like just before half.
Yeah. All right. So let's go with, all right. So Megan Rapinoe makes that great individual effort to get to the byline to lay the ball off to you perfectly. All right. What happened? What were you thinking in that moment, and what led up to your mistake that we can learn from?
Yeah. So like one thing that sucks, like if you know anything about soccer, for those of you who are soccer fans, or for those of you who ever even played soccer, when the ball hits off your heel and it like trickles somewhere, it's like one of the worst feelings ever. Because, I remember approaching this ball, like I'm salivating. So I'm like, yes, this is like my moment. and the ball, it hit off my heel. Like, if you see the way the ball kind of like spins out away from the goal, you can just tell what part of my foot it hit off of, and so I was just like, are you freaking kidding me? Of all times for the ball to hit my heel, this was the wrong moment for that to happen, because I didn't have much pressure on me, and it was like inside the 6 and it just trickled out. So that sucked. But at the end of the day, when you're a professional, or you have a lot of experience within your career as a professional athlete, mistakes are going to be made. Whether if it's a sitter, whether if it's something simple, whether it's something difficult, you're gonna make a mistake. And so obviously that's just something you learn from and you move on. And I couldn't hold my head down. It was just like, okay, crap, that happened. Let's move on. So that was sort of my attitude toward it. Like, at first I was like, crap, it hit off my heel. I know I look stupid doing it, but I can't do anything about it now except make up for it. So yeah.
All right. So let's get to the point of making up for it. So describe that second opportunity. This one's being served from your teammate, from a greater distance, more traffic in the way. Describe what happened in that moment.
I still missed.
You hit the ball though. You hit it hard. The
so,
keeper made a pretty good save.
The keeper made
set
a
up
good
nicely.
Save. Yeah, so Crystal Dunn played a great sort of early cross, and I hit it first time. Goalkeeper made an incredible save. I followed up, and thank God for my little bit of knowledge of soccer, that following up is very important. So followed up, and I think it hit off my thigh, and it just like trickled into the goal. So it was more of a relieving moment than anything. So I remember just thinking like, oh, thank God that went in, So that's just kind of how I felt in that moment, but not even realizing it was going to be the 500th goal in U.S. Women's National Team history.
500th? You mean 500th win?
500th win, excuse me.
I keep saying that too. I get confused between the two.
Yeah.
I have no idea how many goals the U.S. Women's National Team has scored since in existence, but it's probably around that number too. So, but yeah, the 500th win and the game winner. So when you scored, so I'm in my office, depressed, and just like, because I'm just kind of just enjoying all these moments through you, whatever I can get to enjoy the game in my later life where I can't move as much. If you could hear the athletic hallway of me screaming and going nuts and just relieved, probably just as much as you. I bet I was more nervous for you than most people, but probably more than you, because I was freaking out, and it was loud, and people all came to our office, baseball coach, all of them are like, what's your problem? And then I had to like explain to them the significance of the moment and all that, and I'm like, just leave me alone. Let me just deal with all the emotions I just dealt with, that you dealt with. It was just it was an amazing moment, especially with it kept you alive in the mix. So it was kind of like when me and my wife went to watch you play in LA, and
same scenario.
Yeah, same scenario completely. And I'm just a Jessica McDonald fan, so you're not starting, and you guys are just who were you playing again? You're destroying
Belgium.
them. No,
Belgium.
Was it Belgium in LA?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're killing them, and every time we scored, and of course you weren't on the field at the time, I was just like, I'm in the U.S. section too, like with all the parents and stuff, and I can't even celebrate. I'm just up like this, just trying to look like, I'm obviously a U.S. fan, but I know the situation. Everyone's competing to get on that final roster. And then you come on. How much time you had? Like 20 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
You finally get in, and then with no time left, you score that goal to keep yourself in the mix. And that was that the last game you played before they announced the team? I can't remember.
It was January. No, because we
No,
had the She Believes Cup after that. So no,
no. So,
no.
anyways, I just remember just making sure you were still part of the mix, and I knew it was and so many forwards on it. It was pretty amazing. But let's so all these things happened, and you had the obviously you keep your name alive because you keep finding ways to keep showing the national team staff who you are, and you constantly were finding ways to make yourself significant enough to make that team. So let's talk about that day. And you said that told the story a million times. The phone call from your coach. Explain that moment. What happened? What time was the call? Tell me what was going on that day. What was going on before you got the call?
Yeah, so something not you're actually probably the first person I'm like really telling this to, and now the public's gonna know. But every year since I had my knee surgery on my patellar tendon, so for the past 10 years, every year I get like an annual checkup on my knee. I go and get an x-ray, and just to make sure everything's good and intact. And I was actually at my knee doctor office and got my x-ray, and this is our team doctor for the North Carolina Courage, by the way. And first thing he asked me as soon as we sit down after my x-ray, we're sitting in his office, and he's like, have you heard anything yet? Because he knows what's going on, because he's obviously in the mix of the soccer world and knows that we're waiting for this phone call. And so yeah, he was like, have you heard anything yet? And I'm like, no, I haven't heard anything, but keep my phone right by my side on loud, waiting for Jill Ellis to call to let me know if I'm making the World Cup team. And so he's explaining to me like how my knee is doing. He only gets into like the first few sentences of how my knee is doing, and then my phone rings, and he doesn't know it's Jill Ellis. And so I'm looking, and I see that's Jill Ellis, and he was like, do you need to take that? I'm like, yeah. And I answer, and I'm like, hey, Jill. And I just I hear him and see him in sort of the corner of my eye, like sort of an abrupt movement, and like turn around, looks at me really quickly, because he knows who it is as soon as I say, hey, Jill. And I'm on the phone, and Jill Ellis is like, hey, Jess, how you doing? Good, Jill. How are you? Good. And it's just like this awkward silence, and I'm sweating right now telling this story. And she's like, you want to hear your answer? I'm like, yeah, of course. And she was like, you're going to the World Cup. And as soon as she said that, oh my gosh, I have goosebumps right now. As soon as she said that, I just start bawling, crying. I'm just bawling. And she's talking still, and I have no clue what she's saying at this point, And then like I'm finally able to like, sniffle some snot back into my nose, and and she told me at the end of the conversation, I heard the last part of it, and she was just like, this is, what makes my job so amazing is, these moments with you guys as players, and just hearing you on the other line, or on the other side of the line, it's absolutely amazing. She was like, go hug your son, go tell your family, and she was like, congratulations. And I'm still crying, obviously. We hang up, I'm crying, and my team doctor, he gets up, and he gets up, and it was like one of those moments where it was like a little awkward between us, because he's watching, obviously, my life, literally one phone call, and he knows how big this is, and so he comes up to me sort of awkwardly and like gives me this hug, and he's like, congratulations. So it's kind of nice that someone was actually there to witness that moment with me, because like it was just such an incredible moment. He congratulated me, and he was just like, don't worry about your knee, it's fine, we'll talk after the World Cup, go win you a World Cup, and congratulations, get out of here. And that was, that's it. I'm crying coming out of his office, and then there are people working at the desk thinking I'm sad because I'm crying, And there were people like in his office. They're like, "It's okay, you'll be fine." No, blah blah blah. And I'm like, "No, these are happy tears. You know, oh my gosh, these are happy tears. I'm fine. You know, I'm fine." So yeah, walk out, and then I probably cried for like another hour before I made phone calls. So and you happen to have been one of them, my
yeah,
friend.
I know. When you called me, you didn't even say anything. You just crying. I'm like, I totally forgot it was the day that you were gonna find out.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming up, but you called and you're just in nothing but tears, and I didn't. So many things were going through my head, and I was totally not thinking of that. I was thinking of the worst things possible, which I won't mention. So I was thinking horrible thoughts, and then finally you said that you made it, and you know, and it was awkward, and I'm like, because I've never heard you cry before, and so I'm like, all right, okay, I'll talk to you later. And then of course after, and I'm outside my office, and there's no one there because it was like 7 a.m. I think you called me, or 8. I can't remember. Seemed early, maybe not. And I remember screaming, you know, in celebration, like, yes, you know, over and over and over again, and no one's there. I'm there by myself. So I'm like, all right, I'll take a cold plunge now. But yeah, it was surreal, and it, you know, all the things that had happened for you to even get that phone call of, you know, of good news. And I wonder if that phone call of good news would have happened if you didn't have the game winner to help the U.S. women's national team get win number 500, score with no time left. I don't know how many times you've done that throughout your career, but all the little things you had to do to make this happen. And that's what's amazing about your whole career, and that's why I keep on talking about you, is like, I can't wait till someone with intelligence can tell your story through a movie, which I'm very excited about if that ever comes to fruition. But it's definitely a movie script, you know, that you would think it would be manufactured. You don't have to manufacture this one. A lot of true stories you have to like manufacture things. There's so many things that happen in your life leading up to this that you don't have to manufacture to make the story better. So that's what's really cool about it, and it'll be fun to watch. So thank you so much for joining me on episode 500. I think that's so cool. You spent some time with me. Luckily, the quarantine keeps you home, so you have no choice but to take my phone call, because I know where you're at. You can't leave. So speaking of quarantine, before I let you go, how you dealing with it? How are you doing with your son? How are you staying fit? What's going on in your world in North Carolina?
Yeah, you know, it's like, it's bittersweet, because obviously our season should have started about a week or so ago, or 2 weeks ago, and it'd have been nice to obviously been a part of our first game of the season. But you know, I'm 32 years old right now, and I haven't had much of a break in, you know, 10 years since I've been a pro. And you know, I've just been kind of on the go, not really giving my body a break. So the benefit of this quarantine is being able to rejuvenate my body. And so I've still been able to train. I'm just not training to the point I'm like pounding my body, you know, as badly as I would if I was in an actual team environment. So I've been able to get out and train every day. I actually have a full gym in the house. So I have that advantage in comparison to, you know, a lot of my teammates and a lot of other people who physically go to a public gym. So that part of it, I'm still able to stay in shape, stay sharp, but also taking care of my body as well. So it's kind of good to get a little bit of a break right now. As far as homeschooling, I just learned something new about my son today. My 8-year-old little boy, is that he doesn't have an internal monologue, Dave. So the way I teach him, I had to change some things today because, you know, he had a huge reading assignment due today, and he had to read paragraphs. So I asked him, I was like, hey, can you read to yourself? Because he's always reading out loud. He's a great reader. I think that's actually his best subject really in school. And but he's always reading out loud, you know. And I'm like, is there any way like you could just read to yourself, like quietly? And he tried and tried. And he's like, I can't do it. And so then I asked him, I was like, when you're reading, can you hear a voice in your head, or do you actually have to read out loud? He's like, I don't hear a voice. He's like, if I'm thinking, he said, if I'm thinking of things, I can hear other people's voices. So if he was thinking about mommy, he can hear mommy's voice in his head, but he can't hear his own. He has no voice in there. So then I had to like tweak some things with how I'm homeschooling him, because he's a hands-on visual learner. He has to say and do things out loud or like with his hands. And so, he just has a different way of learning. So it's very interesting still, getting to know my son, which I thought, I really know him, but I really don't. But now, I feel a little more confident, obviously, teaching him. But his teachers made homeschooling a little easy for the parents on, how to kind of do things precisely with the kids. So that's been quite helpful. And obviously PE class every day, he's training with me. So he's actually staying in some like real shape, probably in comparison to his classmates. So, overall it's going great, and I'm enjoying it, our one-on-one time. So, yeah.
So for the ones that don't know, I don't have an internal monologue. And when I read that post you put up about having an internal monologue, so basically it's someone like yourself and majority of society, they're talking to themselves. They're telling their story before they do it or as they're doing it, which for us the ones without don't do that. And my wife, I was like going in the mirror trying to talk to myself and and my wife took a picture. I think she sent it to you or something. But
yep, I have it.
I didn't know anything about that, and it messed me up for the longest time. And now I'm trying to develop an internal monologue all the time. So yeah, that's have fun with that one. So you have a little Dave in your house.
Yeah, I do.
So but there's a lot of benefits to it. I was thinking about it. The ability to process everything is different. Like I pay attention to everything. The fact that I actually can hold a conversation with you and do a podcast and all the different distractions I have to go on is quite amazing. But I just can't like things written out and having to have it to read a script, and I can't do it. I have to go with the flow and just go with what I know. So at least as a mother, at least you know about that. I wish someone knew my struggles growing up. I had no idea. And so have fun with that. So that's a completely different podcast. That's probably not on here. It's probably in like Dr. Oz or some therapy podcast that we can talk about. But well, I'm going to let you go from the podcast and stay after. I want to talk to you about something. But thank you so much for coming on, and I look forward to putting this out today on episode 500. So I'm inviting you to be on episode 600. I want to have you as my 100th episode guest.
Yay!
Until I quit, which this could be the last one. Who knows? But I don't know. I don't know. I get bummed out. I get like some days I'll get like 1,400 downloads in one day. I'm like, all right, and then another day I'll get like 700. I'm like, screw you, I quit. Which it's still a lot, but it's I want like 10,000 a day, which is nearly impossible. But I'll keep trying, I guess. I don't know. I get bored, but I invested way too much money in this thing. I guess I have to keep it up. And by the way, my wife's sleeping back there listening to this. Oh, she's up. She's listening now. So anyways, thank you so much, Jessica. I'll have you back on episode 600, which will be in a couple months from now.
Yay. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Thanks for being on. So that was Jessica McDonald on episode 500. We'll have her back on episode 600. And this will close out a milestone for me as I move on to 501 tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.